Misunderstandings. I always thought I was good at pleading. Stars know, I get enough practice. The words, "Please, master," might have been the first I learned to say. Not that anyone would have bothered to make a note of my first words. Begging for food, for punishments, for forgiveness, for mercy. I do it every day of my life. So why can't I figure out how to plead for my life? Maybe it's the difficulty with deciding where to begin my apologies. Apologies are just as natural for me, and really it's impossible to distinguish between them and begging. They tend to pour out of my mouth in the same breath. But I've never made so many mistakes in one day before, and that complicates what is usually a simple reflex. Do I start by apologizing for my failure to follow Master's only orders, that I put my dish in the sink and stay off my feet? Or for the clothes I ruined? Or for the carpet? Stars, my whole body contracts when I think about the cleaning solution spilling over the carpet. Are there spells to repair that kind of damage? If not, I'm sure it will cost Master more than 6 pets of my quality. There's the trouble. What service could I possibly provide to cancel such a debt? Master's right to be rid of me. I should be grateful that he's even taking the trouble to have me put down properly. But I want to live. I can't help it. Knowing I don't deserve his mercy doesn't stop me from craving it. Unfortunately, that doesn't make for much of an argument. Please, master, even though I've done nothing but cause you trouble and expense, and I've misbehaved since the moment you saw me in the cages, you should keep me. You see, I don't want to die. The carriage stops, and master gets out. I cringe against the rush of cold air and the emptiness and uncertainty he leaves behind him. My pulse spikes, yet again, and it's all I can do not to desperately count my breaths. Stars, it would be easier if one of the doctors would just agree. But I don't want that. Every time he comes back and gives the driver a new address, I'm overwhelmed with relief. I just want more time, even if it won't save me, even if it only means my terror and misery are dragged out longer. Someone will give him what he wants eventually. Master is a mage, after all. What will happen then? Will he simply drop me in a heap on the doctor's table and leave? At that thought, I creep under the seat of the carriage, curling in on myself. I think the sight of Master's back as he turns away from me might snap my paralysis. I think I'll cry and beg. If I do that, it will probably anger him. He'll kick me away and storm out, glad to be rid of such a bad pet. But could it work? Could it move him to mercy? I know he won't spare me. He's had plenty of time to calm down and reconsider his decision, and he hasn't. But perhaps he might agree to stay with me until it's over. For a wild moment I imagine him cradling me in his arms as the injection takes effect. I know that would be too much to ask, but perhaps he'll hold my hand, if I can find the right way to ask. I know it's wishful thinking, but it's all I have left. I just don't want to die alone. Master will go back to the market tomorrow and buy a higher quality familiar, the kind he should have had from the beginning. Any of them would be floored by their good fortune in belonging to such a generous master. My replacement is sure to repay Master's goodness as he deserves. They will be perfect for him, perfectly pleasing and obedient and well-behaved, where I have been bad and disobedient and never even earned a chance to service him properly. Even through my fear, I feel a jealous pang at the idea of my kindly master living happily with a good pet, who appreciates all that he gives them, who gets to wear the beautiful collar with the little bell, who worships him and fulfills his every wish. It's what he deserves. It's how things ought to be. I just wish it could have been me. There is a creak and a blast of chilly night air as the carriage door opens, and I stuff myself farther under the seat. No, no, please, not yet, no. Blue? Master's voice is a little panicked, but I can't spare the mental space to try to untangle the reason. The carriage creaks and shifts as Master kneels on the floor. I know he's looking at me, and I don't dare to look up in case I accidentally make eye contact. He gives an exasperated sigh, and the sound shoots through my entire body. The pleas I've been readying die on my tongue. Oh, stars, I just keep digging my grave deeper. Now that it's too late, I know how I should have prepared. I should have knelt properly on the floor of the carriage, facing the door, so I would be ready when Master returned, and made my case the second he appeared. Why do I always panic? Now he's even angrier with me. He'll never listen to any of my reasons now. Not that I've been able to come up with any. Come on, Blue. Master's voice is so soft and soothing. How can he sound so gentle when he's about to have me killed? Even though I know I brought my fate upon myself, the deceptive kindness of his voice is so utterly wrong for the situation. Come on out, he coaxes. You're okay. You're okay. Oh, stars, his hands are on me. I go limp as he drags me out of my hiding place. Is this it? Did they agree to perform the procedure here? Distantly I'm aware of some high, gasping sounds filling the air, and I know they're coming from me. Only a wretched, useless creature like me could produce such pathetic, broken noises. Master pulls me into his arms. His warmth and scent envelop me, and I scent him desperately, trying to gather every bit of comfort I can before the end. But he doesn't pick me up and carry me out the door. He just keeps holding me. Maybe I can make a run for it. The idea is anathema. I've never run from a master, no matter what was done to me. But the desire to live is so strong that I picture myself wiggling free of Master's arms once he has me outside the carriage. I could flee into the darkness. I could... My feet throb. I wouldn't make it 2 steps. Anyhow, I can feel the lean, hard muscle in my Master's arms as they encircle me. He's too strong. Even if I wasn't weak and wrecked tonight, I could never escape his grip. There will be no escape, no mercy, no tomorrow. It's all over. Where to next, sir? The driver's voice sounds very far away. Master hesitates, still holding me against his chest. I wonder, distantly, why I'm not crying. All those years of choking back tears, and now that it doesn't matter anymore, my eyes are as dry as old bones. You can take us back home. What? It takes me a moment to understand the words. I don't think I'd be able to believe them if I hadn't felt as well as heard them, rumbling through Master's chest, vibrating against my rigid body. The meaning of the words crashes in on me all at once, and I can't help myself. I gasp and plaster myself against my Master's body. I barely even register the motion as the carriage starts up again. I am so consumed with the joyous pounding in my head. Maybe it's only intended as a temporary reprieve, but I am confident that given so much time, I can persuade this Master to spare me. He seems to have a very gentle disposition, and I don't think he's taking pleasure in my fear. If I can keep from crying and spoiling my face, I think my pleading might move him. The trick will be to find the right promises to make him, but I know I can do it. I'm willing to offer anything in exchange for my life. I feel almost dizzy with joy and relief. I inhale, and it feels like my lungs truly fill for the first time since my accident. I swear, right then, that I will never, ever be so clumsy and selfish and stupid again. I will never give Master a reason to get rid of me. When we get home, I will beg as prettily as I know how for my punishment, and I will bear it happily no matter what it is, and thank my master for it once he's finished. I'll try to entice him to use me properly, and I'll make it as good for him as I know how. I'll be a perfect pet, and even if I can't make up for the damage I caused today, I will be so pleasing and well-behaved that he won't want to do without me anyway. Master's arms tighten around me, and he cradles me close to his body as we roll away. His touch is so affectionate, I can't help wondering if he's already decided to let me live. What changed his mind? I rack my brains, trying to pin down the pivotal moment. If I've inadvertently stumbled on a method to obtain mercy from my master, I need to remember it for future crises. Master pulls me onto the seat with him, and his hand settles in my hair, stroking and smoothing it. I'm almost positive now that he means to spare me. I cling to his side and keep trying to puzzle out what changed his mind. It has to have happened after the last stop, when he came back and found me under the seat. Did he pity my fear? No. His sigh as he knelt beside me was definitely weary, maybe even annoyed, not moved. Then what? Oh, stars. I am stupid. He was never going to put me down. He washed the chemicals from my wounds. He seemed worried about my feet. He's afraid that I've broken myself, and he wants to go to a doctor to see if his property can be fixed, not to be rid of it entirely. My face feels hot with the force of my blush as I bury it against my master's chest. I've been so difficult for this entire ride, trembling and cowering and making ridiculous noises. Master must have been so confused. I can only hope his annoyance hasn't tipped over into anger. I go over the events in the bathroom again in my mind, examining them from this new perspective. The thought that Master never meant to kill me casts everything in such a drastically different light that I wonder if I'm remembering it all correctly. Despite the expensive destruction I wreaked in his personal chamber, his comfortable sanctuary, he rushed right to me, and I'm almost certain, not in anger. I remember his hands as gentle, and his voice. Was it concerned? I was in such a state of terror and misery that it's hard to be sure, but it really does seem that he was most worried about the damage I did to myself, not to his other, more valuable belongings. He kept telling me it was okay. Could it be possible he meant it? Could he really have been offering me forgiveness so readily, after all of my failings and destructiveness and disobedience? I can hardly bring myself to believe that. But then, my new master has been nothing if not strange and confusing. Oh, stars, this makes all my responses even worse. If I'm right, then Master really did forgive me immediately and set out to get me medical attention. I should have shown my appreciation for such extravagant kindness. I should have thrown myself at his feet and thanked him and made every pretty promise I know. Instead, I froze up and shivered and didn't say a word. He must be dumbfounded at my ingratitude. Is there a way to convey to him that I didn't understand? To explain that I was confused, not unappreciative? Perhaps that wouldn't be wise. If the thought of putting me down hasn't crossed his mind, I don't want to be the one to put it there. Instead, I cuddle against my master, closer than I've ever dared before. I try to convey my gratitude with the press of my body against his. My face is still burning with embarrassment, but embarrassed is a sight better than dead, especially now that my life belongs to such a bewilderingly merciful master. My heart is so light it feels as if I could fly right through the roof of the carriage and into the starry darkness. But for the first time I can remember, with my master's strong arm around me, and his kind heart beating under my cheek, and his gentle hand in my hair, I don't want to be anywhere other than exactly where I am.